Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And to delve into the fascinating facts of Polish history, I'm joined once more in the studio by Professor Krzysztof Jabłonka. Professor, if we can now leap back to the end of the 15th, early part of the 16th century, and talk about Mikołaj Kopernicus, Nicolaus Copernicus, as he's known to the rest of the world, how would you summarise his major achievement?
First of all, it should be remembered that Copernicus was educated at Italian universities where Neoplatonic philosophy was very popular at the time, and this is the key to understanding his discovery. Neoplatonic philosophy focuses on the unity of beauty and spiritual good, and the closer one is to it, the more beautiful and good and educated they are. It is sort of an internal planetary system. The second principle of Neoplatonism is that what is inside resembles what is outside. Copernicus began to look to the outside for confirmation of what is internal. He, however, had no evidence, because this could not be seen in space. All those who looked to the outside, the empiricists, could have never made this discovery, even though they were more educated than Copernicus was. He reversed order and said that it is more logical that the sun that gives life to all must be inside, similar to beauty and good, and we are flying around it in an attempt to get closer. This theory of Copernicus turned out to be true. When he wrote this work on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres, he lacked hard evidence. He only had a deep inner intuition, and this intuition led him from turning away from his theories. Ptolemy tables, created by Ptolemy, the inventor of the geocentric system, were used until the 19th century. It was only when a Frenchman, Léon Foucault, hung a pendulum and proved that it is, in fact, the Earth's orbiting around the Sun and not the other way around. However, one thing is very important. This was a Renaissance mindset. He challenged a certain belief, and Poland was an extremely good ground for it, because in Poland the Middle Ages developed until the end. There was no so-called Black Death in the 14th century, and therefore we went from the golden autumn of the Middle Ages to the golden Renaissance of the 16th century, when the Baroque culture followed. Hence why this continuation in Polish culture is extremely valuable, enhancing European culture as well. Polish poets could immediately translate from Latin into Polish, as the Polish language is embedded in Latin, as well as the achievements of the ancient world.
Well, Professor, I think we can all agree about the legacy of Copernicus as a scientist. But one thing which seems to have always been controversial is whether Copernicus was Polish or German. What do you think?
The Germans were convinced, because he was a great man, that he must have been adopted. The father of Copernicus descended from Silesian Lesser Poland border. He was a Pole and traded in copper in Kraków. When he arrived in Prussian or religious lands, he married Barbara Watzenrode, who descended from German families, most likely Saxony. But remember, the Saxon who came to Poland were half German and half Lusatian. These were confusing times. Copernicus was both. At the time, and we are speaking of the 15th century, there were Germans of the Republic of Poland, Polish Germans, who are fighting with other Germans for lands belonging to the Polish crown. Copernicus's uncle, his mother's brother, belonged to such a people, defending Warmia, as well as Olsztyn, alongside Copernicus against the Teutonic Knights. The Teutonic Knights were the enemies of these inhabitants of Prussia. It can be said about Copernicus that no matter his ethnicity, he was a true citizen of the Polish crown, and he felt that way. When he was dying at Tromborg, he made such a confession himself. He died in Poland, and he was Polish. During the war, the Germans protected a beautiful statue of Nicolaus Copernicus, created by Bertel Thorvaldsen, which stands in front of the Academy of Sciences in Warsaw. The Germans, however, hung a plaque on the statue which stated that the man was German. the Poles revolted and simply pulled down this plaque. I believe that if Copernicus had risen, he would not admit to those who wanted to completely Germanize him. He had a Polish soul, a German soul, but above all, a European soul.
On miał duszę polską, duszę niemiecką, ale przede wszystkim duszę europejską.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for on this episode, so it remains for me to say thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and do join us again on Poland Daily History.